Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for the February 2021 Stampin' Class by Mail. I'm Gina Wieselman of MySweetPaper.com, and I can't wait for you to stamp and assemble your cards using the Pretty Perennials bundle by Stampin' Up. I've teamed up with Brenda Cardinal, another Stampin' Up demonstrator, to offer these monthly classes by mail. This month, Brenda designed your 3 cards, so she will show you how to stamp and assemble them. Then next month, it's my turn. Make sure to watch to the end of this video for a sneak peek of the cards I've designed, as well as some additional information and bonus opportunities. Enjoy your stamping. Here's Brenda.
Thanks, Gina. Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Cardinal of stampintulip.stampinup.net, and I'm excited to show you how to stamp and assemble your 3-card designs featuring the Pretty Perennials bundle by Stampin' Up. This bundle can be found in a new January to June 2021 mini catalog. From the bundle, we'll be using the Pretty Perennial stamp set and the Perennial Petals dies. We've paired this bundle with the Paper Blooms Designer Series paper from the 2021 Celebration catalog. And to jazz up our cards, we'll be using the Elegant Faceted Gems and a Seaside Spray 1/4-inch metallic ribbon from Stampin' Up's annual catalog. Also from the annual catalog, we'll be using the Butterfly Duet Punch, the Stitched Nested Labels dies, and the Tasteful Label dies. And from the mini catalog, we'll be using the Treasured Tags Pick-a-Punch. If you ordered a kit from either Gina or me, elements for your cards have been punched and die cut for you. Before we get started, you want to get your supplies ready, including the Night of Navy, Petal Pink, and Seaside Spray ink pads, mini glue dots, Stampin' Dimensionals, Stampin' Seal, a bone folder, an assortment of clear blocks, paper snips, Stamparatus, a pencil, and ruler. Please reach out to Gina or I if you need any supplies, would like to chat about becoming a Stampin' Up demonstrator, or hosting a Stampin' Up event. Let's get started with our first card design. Our first card is the You Make Me Happy card. If you ordered a Stampin' Class by Mail kit from either Gina or me, all your parts and pieces, including those that have been punched and die cut, were shipped directly to your home. If not, here are the things you'll need to complete the cards as designed. Please pause here to prep everything and then come back when you're ready. We'll start by doing our stamping, and we'll start with our Night of Navy ink. And we'll stamp on our small piece of basic white cardstock. You'll notice that I said basic white versus whisper white. Unfortunately, the company that provided Stampin' Up with their whisper white cardstock didn't make it through COVID, so they found another supplier, and now we'll be talking about basic white cardstock. I'm going to start by stamping the word happy, and because it's such a large stamp, I'm going to lay my stamp on my work surface here and pick up my ink pad and just walk it around and make sure I get it nice and inky. Next, I'll go to the Seaside Spray ink. And just so I don't smudge this, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to come back and add my other words, but I'm going to shift and stamp my Seaside Spray piece of cardstock with this cute little flower. I'm going to randomly stamp this, kind of creating my own background paper. And the best way to think about random, which is kind of ironic, is to think about making triangles. So I have 2 flowers here, so I'll add the 3rd one. And then just keep working around your cardstock, filling it in with the flowers, making triangles. Okay. We'll set that aside. And if you'd like, you can stamp flowers on your basic white piece. Just add a little something to the inside of your card. And then if you'd like, you can also add some cute flowers to your envelope. And then we're going to come back with our words, You Make Me. So I'll ink that up And I'll tuck it kind of close to the word happy and over towards the right. And now I'll show you how to make this banner. This Paper Blooms paper is from the 2021 January-February celebration catalog, and it was designed to coordinate with this bundle. So to make our banner, you can either just free cut that if you want, or if you want yours to look just like mine, bring your ruler in and you want to measure up from the bottom edge on the right side to 1 1/8. Just make a little mark. Then you can take your ruler and draw a line and cut it with your paper snips, or you can bring in your paper trimmer and our cutting blade is the darker one, and you can lay your designer series paper so that the tick mark that you made lines up with this groove here. That's where the blade runs on the paper trimmer, and then spin it so the point on the other side is aligned with that same groove. And then, whoops. And then we'll close the bar and make that angle cut. Okay, so a couple different ways to do that. So then we're going to take our Stampin' Seal and we're going to attach our banner. And we'll align the top cut edges towards the right of our seaside spray piece, and I'm allowing about 1/4 inch on this right side. So we'll put a little pressure on that to make that stay nice and tight. Then we'll add our seaside spray 1/4 inch metallic ribbon, and we're going to tie that around this assembly here. Okay, and we're going to place it so it's about 1 3/4 inches from the top, and then over towards the right. And then we'll take our paper snips and we'll trim the ends of our ribbon here. Okay, so we'll set that aside for a minute. Then we'll bring in our Rococo Rose card base. We'll fold that in half. And so we get a nice crease, we'll bring our bone folder in and run it out along the score line. And then we'll add our basic white piece to the inside of our card. I like to turn my card base so that it's oriented this way, and then I'm looking for equal borders on the 3 sides there, figuring that if it's not cut perfectly, this side kind of bleeds into the other side, so the other side of the card, so you won't really know that it's not exactly perfect. Little trick I like to play. And then we'll add, I'm going to adjust my ribbon here a little bit. There we go. Then I'm going to add the seaside spray assembly. We'll place that in the center of the front of our card base here. Then we'll add our outside greeting. And we're going to do that using dimensionals. I'm going to suggest you put one in each of the 4 corners. That way the ribbon can run right down the middle here. Pull out those release papers. Oops. And we're going to position it so that the left edge of our greeting aligns with the Seaside Spray layer, and that the bow kind of ends up in the middle on the right side. Our last step is to add our elegant faceted gems, the clear ones. Your kit is packaged so that you have either 2 large and 1 small, or 2 small and 1 large. So this one has the 2 large and 1 small, and so let's do it the other way around so we can see what that looks like. So let's put a small one here, and then a large one here, and another small one here. And there we go. Our next card is our Sending Lots of Happy card. And here are the parts and pieces you'll need for this card. Before we get started stamping and assembling our cards, I just want to show you a couple extra things. The first one is how to make this diagonal cut in your petal pink cardstock. The first thing we want to do is make sure we have our cardstock going the right direction. And then using my grid paper, I'm going to make my first mark 1 inch in from the upper left-hand side. And I'll make my second mark a 1/2 inch in from the lower right side. Each of these squares, my grid paper, are 1/4 inch, so I'll go into, and there we go. Now I could take a ruler and my pencil and draw a line between those two, or like in our first card, I'll bring in my paper trimmer, I'll line my 2 pencil marks up in the groove that my blade runs through, and make my cut. And next I want to show you our new mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. It's so darn cute, very portable, and it takes up way less space on my stamping desk. Let me quickly show you what comes with it. You get instructions, and then you get all of your plates. So for our dies, we have our base plate, number 1, and then our 2 cutting plates. And then for embossing, we have our regular embossing folder plate, and we have our 3D embossing folder plate. And in the catalog, we have this little icon here that indicates which of our embossing folders and dies work well with our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So these 2 sides lay down flat, and then again we want to build our sandwich, and the plates tell us how. So we'll put our number 1 plate down first, then our number 2, then our cardstock and our dies. Oops. And then our second plate. Okay. And then make sure it's all lined up, and then we'll send it through. That noise is perfectly normal. And there we go. Oops. Let's start our stamping. We'll begin with Night of Navy ink, and we'll stamp our outside greeting. This narrow little piece of basic white cardstock has been punched with our Treasured Tags Pick-a-Punch. These pick-a-punches are just fantastic. It's like getting 6 punches in one. You get 2 different designs, then you get 3 slots for different widths of cardstock for each of the 2 designs. We're going to stamp our greeting so it's towards the punched end of our cardstock. Then we'll set that aside, and then we'll stamp our inside greeting. Again, I'll lay my stamp on my stamping desk and ink it this way. And then I'll stamp it right in the center. And then I'll set that aside. And then I'm going to switch to our Petal Pink ink. And we'll stamp our piece of Petal Pink cardstock that we just made that diagonal cut in. And I'm going to randomly stamp these little flowers. And just like we did on our Seaside Spray piece for our first card, I'll make triangles to kind of create that random look. And then we're going to want to stamp our flower image on the basic white die cut flower. Now, because it's a photopolymer stamp, we could work to just stamping it and it would probably turn out just fine, or we can use our Stamparatus. The Stamparatus is a tool to achieve perfect alignment. Our sandwich here is our base with our foam mat, because photopolymer stamps don't have foam, and we need that lift so that when we stamp the image down, we get a good transfer of ink. And then we have our grid paper. To use a Stamparatus, I'm going to take the stamp off the block and put it on my plate. And then for easier inking, I'm going to prop my plate up with a stamp case that just makes it more level. And then I'm going to ink up my stamp. And I'm going to stamp that down. Put some nice pressure on it so I get good transfer of ink. There we go. With your kit, you did get the negative image of our die cut flower, and we'll lay this around our stamped flower. For me, the easiest thing to look at was this petal that had 3 notches in it, and it made it easier for me to line up the negative with my stamped image. Then I'll drop my die cut flower back in to the negative image, ink up my stamp again, and then stamp that down. And there we go. If you wanted, you could also add that flower to the inside of your card and to your envelope. All right, let's start assembling our card. We'll start by folding our basic white card base in half along that score line, and we'll use our bone folder to get a nice crease in that. Then we'll add our Petal Pink and our Designer Series paper to the front of our card base. We'll work this left to right, so we'll take the larger of the 2 Petal Pink pieces and we'll attach that using our Stampin' Seal. When applying our adhesive, we want to allow a 1/4 inch along the diagonal cut. That way it'll make it easier to tuck our Designer Series paper underneath of it. And we're going to line this up so we cover the whole left side of our card base. Then before I add adhesive to my Designer Series paper, I'm going to decide which way I want it to go. And I think I want it to go this way, so I have a little bit more of the Petal Pink color showing, rather than hiding it behind our label. We'll add our adhesive to our Designer Series paper. And then we're just going to tuck it underneath the Petal Pink piece so that it's about 1/8 of an inch underneath. And then we want to make sure that our Designer Series paper extends all the way across our card base. So I'm going to pull that down a little bit. I might pull it down even a little farther so I get more of the petal pink flower here. All right, I like how that looks. Let me just double check. If I put this piece down, all my basic white card base will be covered, and that's what we're looking for here. So I'll put some pressure on that then. All right, add adhesive to the smaller petal pink piece. And now adhesive placement is not as important because we'll cover up our designer series paper with this piece. All right. There we go. And then we'll take our paper snips and we'll trim off any excess paper or cardstock. Now let's build our flower medallion. We'll put this together using mini glue dots. We'll start by adding our flower center from the Night of Navy cardstock to our petal pink die cut piece. And then we'll add this to the stamped die cut piece. And I don't think it really matters how you put this piece down. It looks good no matter how you have it lined up. Then we'll bring in our Stampin' Dimensionals and we're going to add our soft seafoam leaf spray to the back of our flower. And then we'll add this to our Night of Navy label that was cut with the Tasteful labels die. Then again, using Stampin' Dimensionals, we'll attach this to the front of our card. And we'll place it so it's a little below center and off to the left side. And then the last thing is adding our outside greeting. And I'm just going to see, I want to tuck it in here. I just want to see it's bumping up against some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm just going to take my paper snips and snip off just a little bit. Yeah, that'll work out great. So we want to make sure this lays flat. And because we've raised this layer up with Stampin' Dimensionals, we want to raise this end up with Stampin' Dimensionals. And on the other end, we'll add a glue dot. And I nearly forgot, we need to add our elegant faceted gem. Little bling on there. There we go. Our last card is our happy birthday card. Here are the parts and pieces you'll need for this card. We'll start by doing our stamping with our Night of Navy ink. And we'll start with stamping our label that was die cut with a stitched nested labels dies. I wanted to show you how these dies work. So when you die cut the label, you get a stitched edge on the label, but it also cuts a stitched edge on the negative. So you could use this for a frame, any variety of ways you could use the negative of the die cut. All right, so we'll stamp out the word happy here. And we'll stamp that centered on our label. And I'll open this up so we can see what we'll be stamping on the inside. So then we'll stamp the word birthday on a Rococo Rose label. And we'll stamp that right in the center. Okay, and that's all of our stamping. Next, we'll get our card base ready. So we'll fold the right side in. The card base has 2 score lines, and we'll put a nice crease on that with our bone folder. And then we'll fold the left side in towards the center, and again, crease that with our bone folder. We'll do that same thing with our belly band. We'll fold in the right side towards the center, creasing it with our bone folder, and then we'll fold in the left side, again creasing with our bone folder. And we'll set that aside for a minute. And now we'll start assembling. So we'll start by adding our designer series paper piece to our basic white piece using Stampin' Seal. And we'll place that so it's about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of our basic white piece. And then if there's any excess, we'll bring our paper snips in and just trim that off. Then we'll add our Rococo Rose label. And then we'll add this to the center section of our card base. Then we'll add our designer series paper. So we'll start by adding the old olive stripe piece to the right flap. We'll center that on our flap so we have equal borders all the way around. And then we'll add the second piece to the left flap. Again, centering it. I'm also going to look at the old olive stripe piece here and try to align my second piece of designer series paper so it has that same line going across here and across there. All right, so we'll set that aside for a minute. So now we'll work on our belly band, and that consists of 2 pieces. Now, we scored the Night of Navy piece for our belly band, but we did not score designer series paper piece. And that is so that when we put these 2 together, we can make sure that the designer series piece lays very smooth, and we don't have to worry about lining up score lines. We'll start by putting a small piece of Stampin' Seal at the short cut edge. Now we want to make sure that we place it so that we leave margins here, because the designer series paper is narrower than our Night of Navy piece. And then we'll put a small piece here close to the first score line, and then we'll put a couple little pieces down the center. Then we'll take our designer series paper, we'll line up the cut edges, and then we want to run the designer series paper down the center of the Night Navy piece, and then we'll put some pressure on that. Then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to fold our belly band at that first crease, bring our bone folder back in, and put a nice crease on that. Okay. Then we'll flip it back over, we'll open this up, and we'll put, again, a small piece of Stampin' Seal close to the score line, another small piece close to the second score line, and then some running down the center. I'm going to give the designer series paper a little pull so it makes sure we get it nice and tight at that score line. And again, making sure I'm running it down the center. And then put some pressure on it. So you can see that I have no gaps then at the folds. And that's another advantage of not scoring the designer series paper. Then I'll again fold the 2 at that second score line, using my bone folder to put a nice crease on that. Then I'll just repeat that process. I'll put a little Stampin' Seal by the score line, and then I'll put a little bit towards the cut edge, and then some down the center. Again, give this a little pull, making sure it's nice and tight at the crease, and then put some pressure on it. And then we'll trim off the excess. Okay. Then we'll bring in our card base again. We'll close that. We'll lay it inside of our belly band. And then we'll put a little Stampin' Seal on this edge. And then we'll close it up. Then we'll add our outside greeting piece, and we'll attach that using dimensionals. And I put 3 or 4 down the center. I think 3 will work. Then we'll center our label left and right and down the center of the belly band. And then we'll add our butterflies. We'll add our Rococo Rose butterfly to the outside, and we'll do that using mini glue dots. We'll open this back up, and we'll add our Night of Navy butterfly to the inside. The butterflies were punched with a butterfly duet punch. This also coordinates with our butterfly gala stamp set. And lastly, we'll add our bling to our butterfly. Your kit came with either 2 small of the pearlescent white gems or a large one for your butterfly. So let's put a large one on this one so you can see what that looks like. All right, there you go. And of course, as always, you could add a little something to your envelope if you wanted to. And now I'd like to show you some additional cards I made using the Pretty Perennials bundle. Our first card takes this particular piece of designer series paper from the Paper Blooms designer series paper, and along with my stitched shapes dies, I cut out a bunch of circles and layered them up. And I really love this denim ribbon with this particular card. Now, if you didn't have the dies, you could certainly use punches to recreate this same card. Here's a fun twist on the gatefold card. It opens like this. This is a pocket card, and it has this pocket that has your greeting and where you'd sign your card. And then it also has a little pocket here that you could tuck in a gift card. It'd be great for birthdays, wedding, baby shower, all kinds of occasions. Our next card just uses stamps, ink, and paper. Let me show you where I got the word sending. In our second card, we used this particular stamp, and it says sending lots of. So I put a Post-it note over the part that I didn't want. I inked up my stamp, peeled the Post-it note away, and then went to my card and just stamped the word sending. Here's another card, just stamps, ink, and paper with a few accessories. These are little matte black dots. These are new to the January to June 2021 mini catalog. I thought they just added a little something. And I thought, could I recreate this card using the dies? And so here's that version. And here's another one. I added a layer of vellum here just for a little visual interest. And here's just a sweet card. The greeting here is from a celebration set called Heal Your Heart. And while I have this out, let me show you a few other samples using just this stamp set. Here's one with our Paper Blooms paper, and again, that denim ribbon. This one I believe is called a Dutch Fun Fold, and it opens like that. And here's another one. I just thought this one was super sweet. Now this one and this one are made using a celebration paper called Flower and Field. And then I took our Pretty Perennials bundle and I combined it with another celebration set called A Touch of Ink. And this is where my hummingbird came from. So let me show you a few more samples. This one uses a greeting, and again, the Flower and Field Designer Series paper. Here's our hummingbird again. And this is a fun one. So I know it looks kind of weird, and when you open it up, it lays like this, but it has Velcro dots on it, and so when you close it, it actually stands up. And this is called a teepee card. I hope all these extra samples inspire you to create more cards with your Pretty Perennials bundle. Thanks again for joining us for our Stampin' Class by Mail, and now here's Gina.
Thank you for showing us how to stamp and assemble those beautiful cards, Brenda. Make sure to follow the link in the email that shared this video with you to access the special Pinterest page that Brenda and I have curated, showing you even more ways to use your supplies. Next month, it's my turn to design and share the cards with you, and I'm so excited to share a sneak peek of the 3 card designs using the Snail Mail Suite from Stampin' Up. The center design features a fun fold, and we'll also be using a blender pen to add some color to the snail on the right design. This suite of products can be found in the January to June 2021 mini catalog. From the suite, we'll be using the Snailed It stamp set, snail dies, Snail Mail Designer Series paper, Snail Mail Twine combo pack, and resin hearts. We'll also be using some elements from the Stitch Shapes and Layering Circles dies that we will cut out and include in your kit. You'll also want to order some supply items to complete the cards as shown. You'll need the Bermuda Bay ink pad, Basic Gray ink pad, Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad, Stampin' Seal adhesive, mini glue dots, multi-purpose liquid glue, mini Stampin' Dimensionals, paper snips, a bone folder, a Stamparatus, and an assortment of clear blocks. The registration deadline to guarantee your kit supplies is March 5th. We also have a bonus registration deadline of February 27th. If you sign up by that date, you'll receive a bonus of 2 completed cards with envelopes shipped along with your March kit. We also have a referral bonus if you find someone new to sign up for the Stampin' Class by Mail. You can get more details about both of these bonus opportunities from the emails from Brenda or me. If you're not already on one of our email lists, please contact either one of us to get all the information you need about this and other fun offerings we have. Also, remember that it's Stampin' Up's celebration period through the end of February. What this means is, for every $50 or $100 you spend before shipping, handling, and tax, you get to choose a free item from the celebration catalog. This is a great time to buy all your crafting items that you might need, as well as to stock up on things like paper, envelopes, or maybe even a prepaid Paper Pumpkin subscription. Please reach out to either Brenda or me if you have questions about celebration, would like to place an order, or want to learn more about hosting an event, or maybe even joining the Stampin' Up family yourself. There are some additional great celebration bonuses for hosting and signing up as well. Thanks again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the class, and please let us know if you have any feedback for how we can make these classes even better. Until next month, happy stamping.